and people not really taking chances with things, but a lot of really interesting things going on in the nuclear space, which again, that's controversial.
It's not as easy as just kind of getting a job and punching a clock 9 to 5. The entrepreneurial life is sort of 24/7.
Capital is not patient, but capital is and can be patient for the right opportunity. The value proposition has to be there.
Well, hello, Emily Dinu. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for the conversation.
I know. Well, business leaders, you are kind of the epitome of that because not only are you an entrepreneur, but you're doing it in the whole innovative field of being in venture capital. So it's kind of the leading edge of what's happening in business. Before we get started on what exactly you're doing, I want to share a little bit with our audience about who you are and what you do. You're the general partner of Numinous Capital, and that has been a 10-year journey. So the first 7 years, kind of in the venture space or the startup space, you were focused on operations, and it shows based on how you manage Numinous Capital. But today, for the last 3 years, you've been a general partner of your own firm, Numinous Capital. And, having a core focus on operations for 7 years, you shared with me kind of your philosophy of no labels. It's nice to have fluffy adjectives to describe, in a pitch deck, the amazing technology that they wanted you to invest in. But at the end of the day, it's about results and outcomes. So from an operational perspective, did it work? Are we getting what we, are paying for? And so
Exactly.
that really helps you be more effective. So you do have to have big ideas, but then you actually have to make them happen and come to pass.
Absolutely.
So share a little bit about how you led yourself into this entrepreneurial path, because it's a difficult path to follow. It's not as easy as just kind of getting a job and punching a clock 9 to 5. Entrepreneurial life is sort of 24/7.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm no stranger to it.
Mhm.
I was definitely in the pipeline for graduate from college, internship, master's, the typical pipeline into whatever industry.
Mhm.
I graduated high school 3 years early, and
Lord.
rather than start classes, I took up a corporate apprenticeship in media. And I quickly learned that, especially coming from an entrepreneurial family, that was a little bit restrictive for me. Granted, I was a teenager at the time, but the goal was always to become an entrepreneur. My mom had her own photography business, and to make ends meet, I helped her operate that business and clean houses and run a bakery and everything like that. So I always saw her come alive when she ran her own businesses versus working too. So I think that sort of reflects my life choices. But anyway, so I worked and went to school.
Mhm.
Uh, During school, I started my first business when I was 19,
Wow.
working one-on-one with C-suites because I was really into trying to figure out how their brains worked.
Mm.
Coming from a family that really didn't have much, that just seeing people, I guess, empower, you would say,
Mhm.
fascinated me, and I wanted to know exactly what was that difference, what puts them apart from the rest of us, so to
Mhm.
speak.
Mhm.
So really started off working with more administrative tasks and
Mhm.
grew into more operational and then industry specific tasks, where I kind of got my foot in the door with some family offices and private equity companies or firms and startups and everything. And I never said no to a client. I took on as many clients as I could at a time and really, really worked on refining what I was good at, what I enjoyed. And again, staying close to people that were in a place in life that I saw myself being later on.
Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Scaled from there, co-launched a crypto fund at the genesis of crypto's explosion back in 2016. with
Mhm.
a Wall Street veteran, learned a lot from him and working with that firm. Had some startup work after that in advanced manufacturing here locally, trying to sort of dip my toes into startup life, the other side of things. And since then, I've been in venture capital. So, I think for me, it's both the desire to really feel alive through entrepreneurship. I enjoy risk as well. I don't trust comfort. I think, if
You would
you've,
have to enjoy
yeah,
risk based on what you do. You'd have to not fear it anyway.
no, yeah,
Yeah, you're
absolutely.
mitigating risk, but taking some on with every deal you do.
Absolutely, absolutely, and putting yourself out there and things like this require risk. I feel very exposed already, but it's well worth it because that's where we meet true innovation is through risk and trying new things and tinkering. So I
Mhm,
like to tinker with my life. So
mhm.
I'll pause there.
Oh, wonderful. Well, yeah, to take that risk, I've had the opportunity to work with some overseas clients and to hire some support staff from other countries and cultures. And I'm always reminded about how comfortable Americans are with failure compared to other countries.
Yep,
They don't want to get it wrong, they don't want to make a mistake. And in the beginning, you can say, well, hey, do the best you can and show me what you have. And they're not satisfied with that because they want to know how to do it exactly the way it's wanted.
yep.
So I think we forget how American it is to have kind of an inventor mentality. And well, hey, if I fall down, I'll just get back up again. I mean, that's the worst that could happen. And in
Yep.
other cultures, they simply don't treat risk like that.
Yep, that's exactly right. And I hear what you're saying too. I've worked with specifically German companies,
Mhm.
and I don't want to say inability to take risks, but just how careful they are with every decision.
Yes,
And the shame that comes along with failure
yes.
is socially quite different than it is here in the US. So I find it, I'm grateful every day that I'm an American. This is fantastic.
There's a
Yeah,
reason new things start here.
yeah,
There's a
absolutely.
reason that we have so much innovation because we are willing to say, oh, well, those last two ways that I did and didn't work, I'll try the third way. And
Exactly.
it can be acceptable that you are, because you're in inventing mode and innovation mode, that there will, of course, be failures. Nobody gets all of it right the first time, but
Yeah,
that is definitely a novel way to look at things compared to the rest of the world. So, one of
absolutely.
the lovely things about, what's happening in America right now, well, you have a dual strategy in terms of your focus about deals that you like to fund. One is high growth and one is patient capital. And I just want to ask you, is there such a thing as patient capital? Tell me about that.
It's a good question. I want to say yes and no. So capital is not patient. Capital wants to create more value, right? And as quickly as possible.
Mhm,
Venture capital was specifically created really to scale software startups.
mhm,
So very lean in cost to ramp up and scale. Um, but what I find most interesting, and I've spent years also investing specifically and exclusively in software
mhm,
for other firms.
mhm,
I have found that I resonate more with scientific and sort of engineering based startups and entrepreneurs. And I really feel that the companies that need more time to grow and scale make the most impact, like material impact to us outside of business to business software and business or to customer software. So B2B and B2C SaaS. Uh,
mhm.
I am most interested in more infrastructural plays and deep tech, hard tech, things that really do make an impact on us. So I would say sort of to answer your question, capital is not patient, but capital is and can be patient for the right opportunity. The
It's just
value
those
proposition
things,
has to be there.
they need a longer runway.
They absolutely do.
It's
Yeah.
not like my programming has worked and my AI is kicked in, and by
Yep.
Thursday, we're going to have this figured out.
Yep.
Especially if you're inventing on the leading edge of science, like in the area of energy. And
Right.
so we have to invent it, then we have to make it work, then we get to bring it to the market which is not by next Thursday. So you would have to be patient with that.
Oh yeah, yeah, and particularly for science-backed startups, especially when it comes to university spin-outs. You
Hmm.
know, there are so many layers of phase one, phase two, getting the IP, licensing. There are so many different steps to get those to scale
Hmm.
that we talk about the capital stack a lot.
Hmm.
So my recommendation for companies that require a little bit more time and money is to focus on non-dilutive funding first and
Hmm.
then stack capital from there because
Hmm.
that creates a little extra time. So if you've got your non-dilutive funding to the point that you're able to scale, so you de-risk yourself, and
Hmm.
then you focus on maybe patient capital firms to get you to, you know, your next 10 years. You
Hmm.
layer that on, and you really can give your company room to breathe and grow properly without investors breathing down your neck. So
Right, the quarterly
yeah,
hammer about, where are your results?
yeah,
Industrial reinvention is one of the areas you're looking at, and it feels like we're in a time of great change. We're trying to onshore all
right.
of the manufacturing that we offshored before. And we've spent no money on infrastructure. Apparently, the bridges are all falling down when ships don't run into them. And
Oh,
so, I mean, there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done right here. And
yeah.
so that's an area that you're interested in looking at investments for.
Absolutely, absolutely. And outside of and I just want to say, I think that's an absolutely positive thing for the country.
Hmm.
I am not in the camp that is panicked about
Hmm.
reshoring and bringing jobs back to the US. I really do feel like on a human level, we need big, hard projects to work on too.
Hmm.
But the cool thing about this is the job creation aspect.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Hmm.
Imagine if we had everything back, and these aren't always manufacturing jobs. This is research and development. These are white collar jobs that we can create here.
Space Force,
Oh,
satellite,
come on.
all
Yeah,
kinds of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And those types of companies are well within thesis too. So you see, those have some science component,
Hmm.
and there's some software in it too. But there's hard tech, that's aerospace, things like these. Um, I get really, really excited when I think about the future, especially if more investors like me invest in companies that are focused on our infrastructure here in the US and making us like the leader again in innovation. That excites me so much.
Well, and because you're willing to be patient with some of your capital, it doesn't have to be so sexy. You
Yeah,
don't necessarily have to have the window dressing of AI.
right.
So some
Yeah,
of there is legit new AI applications, and then there's some, that seems to be, well, I'm going to put an AI layer over the top of this so I can get funding.
yep.
I think you
Tell me
could see
about it.
through that, Emily.
Tell me about it. You know, I recently was invited to a pitch day, and over 30 startups pitched, and out of those 30, maybe three is not an accurate number. It may have been two, were
Mhm.
not, you know, AI companies, which were really all just bots that they had programmed. There was no novel technology behind it.
Right.
Um, so I think for me, I'm suspicious of companies that are AI labeled and you know they're like dot AI
Mhm.
in their titles and in their email addresses and everything like that. What interests me more are sort of like the picks and shovels around AI innovation.
Mhm.
I'll mention I just got back from talking at Princeton, specifically to their photonics innovators.
Wow.
So that's an
Talk
example.
about university spinouts,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. So there are a lot of lots of science that can be applied to advancing AI,
Mhm.
but I'm definitely not in the business of, again, like you said,
Mhm.
investing in AI wrappers. Really, that's not interesting and it's not defensible.
Of the seven companies you've invested in, the largest investment is a company called Figure. And
Yeah,
a little bit about why you chose that, because we'll get some insight into how you're deploying your capital.
absolutely. So it's a little bit controversial. It's a humanoid robot
Mhm.
company.
Mhm.
Um, The way that I looked at it was so their go-to-market is to have the humanoid robots in distribution centers and
Mhm.
things like that. So, like Amazon centers, packaging, moving things around. That's really their go-to-market, but also as household helpers, which is quite interesting to me. Uh,
Mhm.
so, I guess start there, big, juicy market,
Mhm. Mhm.
humongous market.
A
So, yeah,
global market, a worldwide market.
absolutely. Absolutely. With different applications. So a platform of applications.
Mhm.
Incredible founder. Brett, the founder, is just so impressive. He's exited companies, and there's just an indescribable quality when you hear him speak.
Mhm.
Um, just it's pattern recognition at the end of the day. When you've met enough brilliant entrepreneurs, they
Mhm.
just have something. They're able to capture your attention and hold it, and they execute really, really well too.
You're
Um,
operational. Okay, show me a
yep,
result. Okay, show me a result.
yep.
When you say it's controversial, I think of the episode of Lucy and Ethel on the conveyor belt with the chocolates,
Oh, that's such a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, we don't have to have people do that job.
right.
Just like I like my vacuum robot.
Oh,
Because, well, I still have to do odds and ends. Most of the dog hair is picked up for me. And so, and I'm good with that. You
oh
know,
yeah.
I'm okay with getting that support. So I think there are functions that humans are being paid for that robots could supply the labor for, and humans are freed up to do things maybe with more creativity, maybe with less physical body labor, so nobody's having to wear a back brace to go to their job.
Mhm.
So, in the horse and the buggy days, people were worried, we're putting the, ironsmiths out of work and the carriage makers out of work and the bridle makers out of work. But now look at where we are with cars. I mean, we're in self-driving cars. So as these transitions happen, there is some disruption, but it's a net benefit for all, I think. I think figure is in that place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would agree with you. It's hard to theorize what life is going to look like once we have humanoid robots functioning in our society.
Mhm.
And this is not the only company doing this. I should also mention this is a really good thing for us to invest in here in the US because other countries like China are already quite far along with their robotics.
Mhm.
So it's a competitive play. And I always say, it really depends on which hat you put on. You can sort of think of humanoid robots taking away jobs and um, feeling like we're not going to have purpose beyond that. But I think this is an opportunity for us to, yeah, become creative, innovate more outside of labor,
Mhm.
protect our bodies from physical labor too, as you mentioned.
Mhm.
And we just kind of have to do it. Humanoid robots are a thing. Let's invest in companies here that are creating them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I think there are jobs like letter carrier that are going to go by the wayside. That we maybe we'll still get packages, of course, because commerce will come through the mail, but there are parts of society that are part of a 1900 infrastructure, and we don't live in the 1900s anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So having our lifestyle change and reflect what's new. When I think of someone like you who stepped out of high school 3 years early, think about the way a COVID has disrupted education. So many people began to work and got a GED online and just went ahead and then enrolled in college classes at the kitchen table. So there's a lot of unknown talent that I think we could deploy, in a new world where things were exciting. Some of the young ones, they want to do exciting new things.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Tell me
they
about
need
it.
companies to do them in.
Yeah, you need a company, and I'll also say totally off topic, but since we're talking about young people,
Mhm.
my hope is for young people to really get their hands dirty with innovation. I feel like everyone wants to be an influencer, and
Right.
that's so disappointing. They
Right.
think that the ride's going to be easy from there, but again, sort of going back to the conversation around risk. my hope for them is that they take hard risks,
Hmm.
not risks that are just social risks.
Hmm.
Um, I want them to push themselves to do scary things that they don't think they can do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is where the new is going to happen. I was talking with a marketer the other day that said, remember how Blockbuster was the leader in that category, and then Netflix happened? And then, they were delivering discs in the mail, and Blockbuster just did not comply with that shift or fast enough because
Mhm.
they were leading the category. And so, in times of great change and innovation, you really do have to pay attention to what's coming next. So that's my second to last question is what do you see coming next?
Yeah, yeah. So I think I'll go back to the AI infrastructure and sort of the need for um, more sophisticated tools that power AI and other technologies like quantum compute and everything like that. And that's sort of what my wheelhouse is. They're not always these big shiny companies. They're not necessarily a component of one thing. They're legitimate companies. But what fascinates me is making things run really, really well and seeing what's on the pipeline for innovation. And I guess for the next 5 years, it is going to be focused around automation broadly.
Hmm.
Uh, and unfortunately, again, I'm seeing a lot of AI wrappers. I see so many iffy companies and people not really taking chances with things, but a lot of really interesting things going on in the nuclear space, which again, that's controversial.
We're
It's
going
a
to need the
clean,
energy. There's just
yeah.
nothing to be done. We cannot meet the capacity we are just going to need it. So,
Yep. We're going to need it. And we also, going back to being in America, like we need to be able to, yeah, be sovereign. We don't need to have to take our energy from other countries.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, the energy space, I know years ago it was solar. That didn't work out so well. So I hope we've learned our lessons there. But yeah, I think ocean tech is going to be quite interesting.
Mhm.
Um, Mining and rare earth minerals,
Mhm.
learning how to separate sediment from what is valuable. I look at a lot of companies
Mhm.
in that space.
Mhm.
Um, I'm seeing a lot of drone technology, and I guess that's because of the Ukraine war.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think everyone should probably expect quite a leap in innovation within defense tech as well.
I think
Uh,
so too. It
yeah,
seems like we always deploy there first,
yeah,
and maybe it's the budget allocation.
it's that. Yeah, no, that one's well funded.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the Chinese are mining things on the moon, for heaven's sakes. And so, yeah, there is kind of a race into what's new and next and keeping pace with so many smart minds all over the world.
exactly,
It's
exactly.
very exciting. Well, so if someone watches this podcast and says, Emily needs to see my amazing new idea, how do I show her my pitch deck? How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to meet anyone who's interested in even just having a chat. I think the best part of venture is yeah, meeting fascinating people that are much smarter than me that I can learn from and
Mhm.
hopefully provide some value to as well. To get in touch with me, a
Mhm.
good way is either on LinkedIn, so Emily Dinu on LinkedIn, or
DINU.
yeah, Dinu. It's like dino, but with a U at the end.
Mhm.
Or Emily at numinouscap.com.
Yeah, you don't
My
spell
email.
capital all the way. Yeah, Numinous
Yes.
Cap. Well, and we'll have that down in our show notes too, so people can get a hold of you. It's so delightful to talk to you. I'm so grateful people are, out in the world creating funding for these new ideas because it takes money to get going, right? It takes money before you're generating money from your idea. And so yeah, having that innovative mindset combined with an operational mindset, like, okay, aren't we delivering something now?
Yeah.
Is so tremendous. It's really great to talk with you today.
I really appreciate the conversation. This has been a pleasure. And yeah, absolutely here to help anyone that I'm able to help either through conversation or capital.
Well, you're going to bring amazing things to market, and we'll keep an eye on you, Emily.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye.